Welcome, everybody. Today is another episode of Make a Scene with Video, where we explore all things related to video and mission-driven organizations.
If you're new to Make a Scene Media, we are a full-service video production company. We help nonprofits, agencies, and businesses make an impact with video storytelling. We specialize in capturing authentic stories with trauma-informed and ethical production practices because we believe that video can not only transform apathy into engagement, but it can be a healing process for those in front of and behind the camera. Yeah.
Super excited because, the whole reason why we started this podcast series was because we have, Heather and I worked in so many different industries and fields within the realm of video production and television and things like that. And we've met and worked with some really amazing people who come from a variety of backgrounds. And we want to share those conversations with you. Some of these folks are nonprofit professionals. Some of them are communications professionals. Some of them are therapists. So the variety of conversations are super fun. And today I'm really, really, really excited to have on with us today Roxanne Sutton.
Welcome, Roxanne. So Roxanne Sutton is the founder of Worthy Journey Communications. She is a communications strategist and social media marketing genius. I added the genius. And she helps nonprofit organizations build that strategy to reach their audiences, which we think is really important. And we can't wait to talk to you today because it's not just about one video, it's about a strategy. And you can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Well, thank you both so much for having me. I'm absolutely thrilled to be on the podcast today and talk about the thing that I love the most, which is nonprofit communications.
Nice. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. What kind of work do you do? How do you help nonprofits?
Sure. So as you said, I'm the founder of Worthy Journey Communications, and we've been around for almost 3 years now, which is kind of wild to me. But this business really came out of a need to calm the chaos in nonprofit communications. I've been in nonprofit communications for over a dozen years, probably inching closer to that 15-year mark now. And, I've really seen how much having a strategy and a plan and a calm personality, to be honest, can really impact how teams work together. And so I really started this company to try and remove some chaos from what nonprofits go through in their communications. And the way we approach that is we come in and we not only just want to come in and fill a gap, do an annual report. We can do a short project, much like what you all do. Sometimes you're coming in and you're just doing a project, and sometimes we're there for a longer period of time. But no matter what we do, we really just want to leave things better than we found it and sort of leave it behind with some processes and procedures in place so that if we do ever have to leave or contract with someone, that things are nice when we go.
That's awesome. I think we should, but we're going to pick your brain on all of the genius behind the strategy and communications, but I think we should lay the foundation with how we met you and the first time we worked with you as kind of a case study for viewers about the way we can work together. Why don't you talk about the summit a little bit and about why you had us join you?
Definitely. The goal behind 1T.org US is really to create a community. And it can be from private, public, and the nonprofit sectors of people coming together towards this goal to conserve, restore, and grow 1 trillion trees by 2030. So that was a mouthful in and of itself. So that already primes us there's a way that we need to break this down and tell a story about this group. This group also was born in the pandemic. So the movement sort of started in 2020, and then we had a pandemic. And so this whole initiative launched, and there was never any in-person gathering. So in 2022, when we came to you all to work on a video together, it was the first time this community was coming together. So this really diverse, interesting community of CEOs of corporations, CEOs of nonprofits, government leaders have never met in person. And so we wanted to not only capture that moment in time and, capture the event and what happened there, but it was really a moment to show the world what this is about. So like this video was truly the first time we were going to be able to say and show physically, what does this community look like and what are they doing?
That's great. So we showed up for there was a 2-day conference. We filmed not only the conference itself, so we see people speaking and the panels, we see the audience members listening intently, but we also pulled people out for OTFs, which we call on the flies, to get that like in the moment testimonial, good energy, great bites for social media type interviews. And I think the comment you made to us that day was, oh, hey, I don't have to stand next to you this entire time and do the interviewing myself. It's happening. You guys are taking care of it. I don't have to worry about you. I can step away and run this entire event because, nonprofit events, you had 7,000 things on your plate. And we were able to do that interviewing and get the messaging right without you being that video producer.
Yes. And that is actually, I wrote that specifically down in my notes because it was so impactful to me because I've worked with a ton of videographers and great videographers, but the real difference for me on this project was that I didn't have to be the person that was doing the interviewing, and you all even helped develop our interview questions. And maybe even more importantly, because you were the one doing the interview, you were able, and that's your job, you were able to really pull out answers from people that I don't think I would have been able to do, especially with my mind in 20 other places about the 20 other things that need to get done while we're here and what's happening next. But you all came in with like a calm mind and were able to be like, okay, we're not getting quite the answer we want, so let's pull out a little bit more here.
Right. Like we didn't spend probably weeks and months working with VIPs to make sure everybody was like taken care of. And, there's a relationship I'm sure that you had with those VIPs where you want to treat them with very, like almost kid gloves. But we're coming in, we're neutral third parties. So we can ask maybe a tougher follow-up question, or we can maybe sort of push in a way that like is going to get that really authentic answer. That maybe if they're speaking to somebody from the organization, they might be a little bit more reserved with what they have to say, or be more politic about what they're going to say.
And then the other special thing about this project was you wanted social media that day, and we hadn't done that before, and we were like, okay, let's do it. And I think it was a great idea because while we were on set, we were reviewing the footage. We were there to hear the interviews, so we knew which bites were good. We were able to cut that, and then you were able to use that to create more buzz for the next day. Or you didn't have to wait too long. It just happened quickly and was out there. And so I really like that process. And I hope more people do that process, especially for the multi-day conferences. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think what sort of our goal was is that we were sort of asking some of these like VIPs to like come and like spend their time with us, even else like stepping out of a session to talk with us or walk away from their lunch to do an interview with us. And not only was it important for us to be able to show very quickly like what we were achieving at this summit for the first time, but it was almost like a reward for them too, like almost like an immediate hit for them on social media of like, this is what I did today. And then, we also got a lot more engagement that way. It wasn't oh, here's an event I went to last week, although we then had a wonderful video that we could go back to people with and be like, don't forget to share this too, weeks and months later. But really in the moment, they were able to share their involvement and what it meant to them to be there that day. We're dealing with serious climate change impacts, and nature is not all of that, but nature is certainly a part of that, and trees and forests are a part of that, and that's the group that we represent in the U.S. And so a lot of people didn't know what we were doing. And so it was a way of being like, this is what we're doing. And this is really how we're going to make this work together. I could probably say that better.
No, I mean, but you sort of hit that on the head, because that is like one of our core, I guess, like I don't know, like core values as a company of how we approach storytelling, which is show what's working and show that this is a movement already in process, because people really want to jump on a bandwagon that's already rolling down the street. They don't want to be jumping on a bandwagon that's going in reverse and is on fire. That's not fun for anybody. So what I appreciated about this was it was like, this is working. Look at how many people came together to have this conversation. It's bipartisan, it's international, it's activists and staunch, politicians, right? I mean, it was super cool, because I think even just the wardrobe, right? Like the variety of wardrobe, I think in this conference,
Yes,
just tells you everything you need to know about the movement, right? That this is something where everyone can feel called to join, and it made it feel easy to yeah, I could be a part of that as well.
Yeah. So,
definitely.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's
Well, I was gonna say, so we had, it's creating buzz as it's happening. It's a little bit of a thank you to the people who are involved, because a lot of people like seeing themselves on camera. But were you able to use it later? I know that the next year wasn't the exact same kind of summit, but was the footage helpful to you later with your communications?
100%. I can't even tell you how many times we've used that video and continue to use it. So yeah, the next year we were in New York, and we were just limited by space. So we kind of had a more of an invite, instead of just truly an open conference. It was more invitational. But still, the people we're inviting may not have known what happened the year previously. And so we had this video as sort of part of our campaign landing page and the conference summit landing page, so that those who were registering to come really knew what they were coming, and to get excited for what was going to happen and what sort of conversations were going to take place, and how are we going to build off of what happened in this first year of the summit as we move into the second year.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think that's a great study for ways that nonprofits can take a step into video, like whether an event or conference and social media, which I'm sure every communications person is either talking about or hearing about or whatever. But let's talk some bigger picture with your just experience over all the years you've been working. So tell us a little bit about your approach to communications at Worthy Journey Communications.
For nonprofits.
Yeah.
So for me, and sort of our mission is to, as I said before, leave things better than we found them. So no matter how short or how long we're going to be with a client, that's what is always in the back of my mind. And so I'm approaching our communications with, how can I build something, even if we're just doing social media for you, how can I build something that makes that easier for you long term, or easier for us if we continue to work with you for several years? Storytelling is everything. Fun fact, my background is actually in dance. I was going to be a professional dancer before I was going to be a professional communicator.
Sorry. We both are dancers, so we love it. What?
Yeah. So I have always had a passion for storytelling, because obviously ballet is storytelling. But for me, the reason I think storytelling is so important is that I am someone who learns by example. And to me, I'm going to take an example over a definition every single day. And when we're talking about something as complex as environmental issues, you really need stories and examples to be able to relay why something is so urgent, or something needs to be done, or why we need to take action, or how is it impacting people. So just as an example, when I worked at the National Recreation and Park Association, we had sort of not standards, but things we looked for in high quality parks. What makes up a high quality park? And this could be cultural relevance, or that it's environmentally resilient, that it promotes health and well-being. There's sort of these things that you would look for, that it could be equitably accessed from different areas. I can spout all of that off to you, and you might be able to paint a picture about what those things mean. But the way it's going to stick with you is if you see what that means. And so I did a video project where I went to Milwaukee to film a grant project. So a funder had given money towards a park, and the money was supporting sort of a cultural relevancy, because there was a large Hmong community around there. And it created this very colorful took a playground and made it more colorful, put in some like statues and really made it culturally relevant to that community. And so this video really captured what that meant to the community. And so we had this like grand opening ceremony, and we had dancers that came in that were from the community and doing traditional dances. And when you see that, then you understand why cultural relevance is important. And then also understand the steps we took to get there, which was community engagement. Again, like another buzzword, another definition that we could say, well, community engagement means this. What does it look like? It looks like going door to door maybe and doing interviews or calling people in to talk about it. So this video was really able to capture what those things look like. And to me, that's why storytelling is so important. There's also, I mean, that's not even getting into the emotional connection that we make with the characters and the people that are in these videos. But, you know, they say you're going to remember a story 22 times better than a fact. And that's all you need to know. That's why stories are so important and vital to the work we do as communicators.
And you brought up the terms community engagement. I mean, we know what that means, but does that sound like a buzzword that people tune out very easily? That's why, I mean, talk about crowded content, like the world. It's just you're getting so much that like you want to capture them with visuals, and you got to relate to them and you got to show them, because someone's not going to go Google what's the meaning of community engagement or like really understand what that is.
Well, and I think nonprofits are probably only second to like governments in their jargon. You know, there's like so many acronyms and phrases that we use, and it's really important to be able to take those words and give them meaning. And so we can do that through storytelling, whether that's through video, through painting a beautiful picture, through words, through audio, but there has to be a way to translate those words into something meaningful.
And I mean, let's be honest, we're working with nonprofits. It's not just about turning the words into meaningful. It's about turning them into dollars sometimes. It's about making sure that people understand where those dollars are going, what the impact each dollar makes on that community, and why they need more of it, right? And so so one of the biggest things that clients come to us for are fundraising videos, because of that impact, to be able to say, you know, someone watches that and can see right away, wow, they do really great work. You know, if we're working with affordable housing, we can show, wow, the building looks really beautiful. You know, if we're working with environmental conservation, well, wow, they work with state agencies and they work with conservation agencies. You know, it's like you can show all those things at once. I kind of rambled there at the end. Hopefully we can cut that out.
No, that was great. Let's talk about best practices for strategic video planning. And we'll leave it on you to talk about whether it's like a corporate level, social media level, or whatever. What are some of your tips and tricks for video in your strategy?
Yeah, tips and tricks for video. I would say that when we're thinking through a video for a project we're working on, I really like to think, I mean, first of all, video is an investment. And, you know, it isn't necessarily a cheap thing. And so you really want to be thinking about not only how are we going to use this video for the one thing that that is like the driving factor. So like in our One Theodore US example, it was that we needed to capture the summit. But is like, what is all the ways in which we can take advantage of the video, all aspects of it, to get longevity and get the most bang for our buck. So some of the things that I'm thinking through when we're starting a video project is, how are we, what footage are we going to capture? Can we get B-roll while we're doing this? Is there a really important funder or maybe our CEO that needs an interview that's not going to make this video that we're going after, but that we can use for another purpose? What are all of the ways that we think we're going to cut this down into other pieces? And so even if I only have the budget to maybe get a video and some social clips, can I also then get from my videographer team a cut that doesn't have music or maybe lower thirds on it, so that I can repurpose that at another time, maybe with my not as great editing skills, but that like the nonprofit team can take and use for their own purposes. So just like anything, when you're making a plan, it's really thinking through all of those different elements so that we're gonna really get them. Because I have seen too, more times than I care to admit, we do a video, we publish the video, we share it a few times, and like that's it. It goes to like live in the video graveyard of the YouTube channel. I don't know. But I want to make sure that, especially now and where I'm at now, I want to make sure these videos get longevity. And sometimes maybe I shouldn't be so flippant, because sometimes the video, and what's the purpose, the why behind the video is really important. What is the goal? So like you mentioned, there could be fundraising. We need to raise dollars, and that's like a critical thing. Sometimes you've already gotten the money and you're trying to show the funder you were a good steward of that money and to please give us more money in the future to continue doing this work. And then sometimes it is like a more call to action. So I think being really clear about that goal too, because that's going to drive all of the other ways that we're going to structure questions or ask for assets at the end of the process.
I think people would be surprised at how many assets are created in the process of production that just go to the trash. Like they're just on the cutting room floor. They never get to see the light of day. But you're like, we sat down with your CEO for an hour and a half, or your executive director for an hour. They gave us an hour of their time, and we used 30 seconds of their bites. They've got an hour of great content here, just waiting to something to do with it. So we're really always trying to push our clients to like really think about that. Okay, where else can we use this footage? What other questions can we ask that make this interview, useful throughout the year instead of just for this one thing? So yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw out, if we're asking ourselves the same question, we have a very similar answer, in that like being really strategic about where you put the money in production and how many different videos you can come out of it. So we usually like to we can do one day, because production goes in days most of the time. So like you want to get as much in that day as possible. So you've got your CEO, your VP of services. Maybe you have, you're going to honor someone with an award later that year. You talk with that person, and then you talk with someone who has like a program manager who has direct connection with your population. Okay, great. So you interview them each for an hour and a half, and you cover all the topics that you might need, what you've accomplished in the year, what your mission is, how you feel about partnerships, blah, 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 blah. Then we've taken that with some video, some event video, with the population and your work and that sort of thing. And we've done 3 to 4 minute that covers what you did in that year. That it's not proof of concept. You used the, what word did you use? I forget, but like showing that you're a good steward, that you're a good steward of the money. Then we made a video that's shown at a fundraising gala that honors your partner and encourages donation at that event. Then there's an online end of year. We did great. We can do more next year if you join us. And we also did some like donor thank you videos that weren't even posted. That's not about the number of random views on the internet. It's about an email campaign, and it just goes to specific people. And we were able to do that with like that one day. And then, and you can even do even more social media clips, as you said, out of an hour. Nowadays, and now with AI, you upload it to the right thing, which brings up another point you made, which is like, okay, we've got us, we're doing high-level professional video and editing. You may have someone on your team who can take some of that material and use AI, and it can be like a symbiotic relationship, and you're getting some short, like buzzy, simple stuff for your communications team that you can release all the time, on every 2 weeks.
So I think, and I can't take credit for this because this comes from another marketing friend of mine, but she has a thing that she says where like one piece of content should get you 25 other pieces of content. And so like if you have like sort of like your keystone piece, which is like this great, beautiful video, you should at least be able to get 25 other pieces of content from that. So whether that's like you're taking stills from the video, you're breaking it down into smaller videos, you're taking sound bites from the interview to craft a written blog post, like There's so many things you can do. It's like, do it, and make sure you're building out the time to do it so you're not duplicating efforts. I mean, that is one of the biggest things about being in nonprofit communications is you are expected at every level to be very financially responsible with like the funds that you have, because you have this very important mission and usually limited funds and time to do it. And so it's also thinking about how is that video we recorded 5 years ago that might seem a little stale now or doesn't hit all of our key messages, but there's pieces we can use. There was this really beautiful B-roll. There's the scene from the park. There's, this animal frolicking, and you could reusing pieces too. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Except in this, we're going to maximize our assets. We're going to reuse and recycle to get the most bang for our buck.
The 3 best channel stopping moments that you can have, by the way, and we learned this from TV days: frolicking animals, laughing children, and melting cheese. Super Not this actually. I remember sitting in. I think it was like Travel Channel, gave us a whole brief about things to think about when you're developing series for them, and they're like, we've done studies that show if there is melting cheese on the screen, people will stop and watch for at least 10 seconds. So, melting cheese.
That's amazing.
That's for all nonprofits. If you can relate your nonprofit to cheese, that's a perfect trend.
This is a challenge I will take on.
There's got to be a National Cheese Day, right? There's got to be a National Cheese Day that you can capitalize on and just see, like, can you put a melting cheese out on that day? What kind of hits are you gonna get? Report back.
Oh, I already have my angle. It's going to be about extreme heat and cheese.
Ooh, yes. I love it. I love it. It writes itself.
She's
done.
Well, that was our next question, was if there are any trends in nonprofit communications that you think viewers should know about, that we should know about.
Well, we've already talked about this a little bit, but I think AI is a huge opportunity for nonprofit communications, especially when we're thinking about how can we do more with less. So whether that's using like a chat GPT to help write first drafts of things, or I know we had talked about, and I would love to like get more about this than I do in the AI space with video. I'm looking for all the tips and tricks here too. But, we can resist it or we can embrace it and use it for good. And I'm in the camp of, and always have been, that when it comes to change is to embrace the change and then use it for your own, hopefully noble purposes. So that's one piece. The other piece, I mean, this isn't new, but I do think sometimes like nonprofits can be a little bit behind in like the times. And so like being able to optimize for vertical content on TikTok, Reels, YouTube Shorts is really important. And so sometimes when we're thinking of a fundraising piece and it's shot horizontally, being able to then have a vertical version of that for those channels that tend to bring more organic people from outside of who's already watching you and listening to you. And then my other one is just really being able to create content on the fly. And whether that's, especially for like social media, things are so fast and there are so many trends happening and it's hard and you can't always be the most creative person in the room. But if you have a system in place to be able to use content creatively and quickly, I think that's really going to be what helps nonprofit.
Obviously, we want every nonprofit to invest in high quality, professionally made video content, but recognizing that that's not in the budget for every event, every communications piece that you have to go out. So how do you make the decision between, we're going to do this ourselves, we're going to this is going to be raw in the moment, versus hiring professional crew to come and help you?
Yeah, I think it depends on what it is. So the way I kind of look at content, and this is kind of like social media content, but in general, is so you'd have like your weekly content or like your content that's like keeping the lights on. And that's like, you're more like, these are our key talking points. There's kind of a formula to them. There's things that we do on a daily basis that we're pushing out messaging. And that's often where we're going to be using maybe more raw, organic, like quick creative pieces. And then we also have like what I call our ASAP content, which is the president just announced a new executive order and we need to talk about it. Or, our CEO was just interviewed in the Washington Post and we need to get that out. And that's where we're relying on templates for our content, whether that's a video template or a graphical content template. But where I'm going to want to put my money behind is in our campaigns. And that's where we have, that's going to be showcasing, like the most important work we're doing. When it comes to our campaign content, that's where we're investing our video dollars. And that's where we want to be able to show the most impactful things that we are doing that are most aligned to our strategic goals. So while the weekly, like I said, that content is important because that's what I say keeps the lights on. It lets our followers know we're still there and we're still active and we're still kicking and we're still doing things. But like that campaign content is going to be where they are connecting with us on like an emotional level. And that's where we want like the dramatic scenes. We want the music. We want the emotional pull to like drive them to the next level. And that's going to be our most important work that's strategically aligned.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
All right, we picked your brain a lot. Do you have any questions for us? Anything that the people who follow you might want to know about video? We're happy to answer.
Well, I want all of your AI tips and tricks for video.
So I will share because I'm somebody who I follow so many entrepreneurs and business builders and, because they have the best ideas and they're always sharing the best content. And there's an entrepreneur who lives locally, and I noticed like all of a sudden his social media game just like shut up. And like he's posting videos daily. And I'm like, he is not an editor. Like, how is he making these videos? They look great. They're subtitled. I couldn't believe it. And he finally fessed up and he posted that he has been using this tool called Opus AI. And Opus AI is a really cool artificial intelligence driven engine that's online, and you upload your raw video to it. It's really best for kind of like single person talks or interviews. Like especially if someone's giving a presentation or something like that, I think this is like the perfect medium for that. So you just record it on your phone, camera, whatever you have, you upload it to the system, and then it takes a couple minutes, it thinks a little while, and then it takes, let's say you've uploaded a 30-minute presentation, it'll spit back to you 40 social media clips that have been edited to 30 to maybe a minute and 20 seconds. Complete subtitles, emojis if you want. It can even do B-roll now. And you can change the font and the colors, and it's super customizable, and it's a really good, you still have to have somebody there recording it, right? Like you still need to have that material recorded, and it's only the audio to be good. You want the audio to be good, all that sort of stuff. But I think it really does reduce a barrier to entry for a lot of people who have great stories to tell and who want to put themselves out there. Now there's a lot of that guesswork is taken out.
Oh, another tip and trick I wanted to include was that we think from our business to your business is hooks. I think that we spend a lot of time in entertainment and television, and you want to grab them before the commercial break, or before, at the end of the program they liked, before the next one starts. You want to hook them. And I think that in the past, nonprofits have been a little bit afraid of using like an entertaining hook. Like they want to jump into like the message and facts and the straightforward. And it's like, there's like ambiguity can be a hook.
Yeah.
You can have 10 seconds and that person's talking about something and you don't know what they're talking about and you're confused.
But it's really compelling and it's super interesting.
So you want to find out what they're talking about. And I think that sometimes a little more straightforward thinking is like, oh, well, I don't know what context that is. And so we should go after the explanation. Like, no, you confuse them. You hook them. Then you explain what it is. It's competitive out there to get people's attention, especially if you're playing on TikTok, right? Or something like that, which I'm thoroughly addicted to. So anyway, done with the tangent. Did you have any other questions for us before we talk about where people can find you?
Yeah, I do have one more question, and I'll just comment on what you said, which is that's game changing. All of that is game changing, especially for nonprofits. The ability to take those presentations, which nonprofits generally do quite a bit of. I've just, in my experience, they're usually out in the field doing, talking about their work. So, and sometimes that is like the only video they have. So to be able to really take that and utilize it from AI is amazing. And then the second thing you said about the hooks, like, yes, please, we need that. we definitely need that. But my other question for you all would be, what should nonprofits be asking videographers when they're trying to choose a company to work with? Like, what should they be looking for, or maybe looking out for, knowing that like they have a limited budget, or that they may not know all the right questions to ask?
So one of the things I think a nonprofit should ask is their approach to the production day and to interviewing. It's a long day. It can be very intimidating with cameras and lights, and it's an intimidating process. So your CEO, your director may be used to it. They've done it a bunch of times. But if you're asking someone in the population that you serve to be a part of that production, you want to make sure that the director and the interviewer are sensitive to that. We often talk about it as being trauma informed. The person who's leading the production company isn't necessarily going to be the person interviewing. So you want to ask, who's the team that's going to show up that day?
Yeah. So I think another good question. I mean, it's really, it comes with how much work do you as the person hiring that production company want to do? What kind of production company are you hiring? Or do you want somebody that you tell them the top line, they take it, they run with it, and you get to kind of weigh in afterwards? Or are you somebody, you have very clear, specific, guidelines, you want to be really involved with every single step, scripting, all that sort of stuff? Then you're going to ask different questions. So, because it's different, there's different types of production companies out there. There's independent freelancers who are great videographers, great technicians. They'll show up with a camera. They'll give you great content. They're not going to edit it. They're going to send you a really beautifully shot interview. And then, you have to do something with that. Or you could hire a team like us, where we come from the world of developing television stories, and really working on full productions. So when you're hiring us, we're coming with strategy. We're collaborating with you on messaging. We're really taking that the whole process over from start to finish. So really, it's like set and forget. You give it to us, and you can trust that we're gonna return with something amazing.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And there's
It's almost like there needs to be a vibe check.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, we have taken up so much of your time, and we could just talk forever because we are constantly learn from each other, I'm sure. But we should wrap up. Let you go about your day. Go back to the chaos of communications. So where can people find you? Where is Worthy Journey Communications, and how can they work with you?
Yeah, thank you. And before I do that, I do have to say one thing that, as like an endorsement, is when I said I was coming on the podcast today with some of our 1T.org US team, they said, they were really cool to work with. So it was such a neat experience. So there you go. So you passed the vibe check.
There you go. It's important.
It is very important. But yeah, so you can find me and my team at worthyjourneycommunications.com. And oddly enough, I don't have a ton of social for my company yet. We are small but growing. But you can find me, Roxanne Sutton, on LinkedIn. You can also find Worthy Journey Communications on LinkedIn. And those are probably the best ways to find me. My contact information is on the website. And yeah, I'm always happy. I, too, can talk about nonprofit communications and video forever. So it's like sometimes hard to stop. Yeah, and thank you so much for thinking of me. This was a lot of fun. It was fun to put my podcast hat back on today.
Yeah, you are the guest.